Hello, everybody. Stacy, welcome.
Thank you.
So Stacy knows this, I told her, but I am a user of TaskRabbit. I asked my virtual assistant, I'm a big outsourcer, to tally up what I spent on TaskRabbit last year, and it was $1,251.94.
Wow, that's good. Excellent.
Those were on things including pickup and delivery, plumbing, yard work, furniture assembly, lifting and shifting, packing and unpacking, and mounting and installation. So
that is almost every category that we have.
Thank you for that. It's great to have you here today. Let's get right to it. You left a really successful career at Google in 2015 to go to TaskRabbit. Why did you go?
I'm a mission-minded person, and the mission of making everyday life easier for everyday people really meant something to me. After 9 years at Google, what was I going to do next but something that really mattered to my heart? And what mattered to my heart was how I grew up in Detroit, where a lot of people lost their jobs because of the decline in the auto industry, and a platform like TaskRabbit existed to help people find meaningful work. So I made the jump.
That's excellent. And so TaskRabbit will celebrate its 10th year anniversary this fall. It was really a pioneer, maybe the pioneer of what we call the gig economy. A lot of other companies were founded that year, Airbnb, Uber. TaskRabbit, its path has been a little bit curvier. You know, it's not as big as those companies.
Yeah.
It has been a little bit more roundabout. Why is that?
You know, we've always focused on being a different kind of company. We've focused on growth, but not just for growth's sake. And so when I started at TaskRabbit, you know, we were founded early pioneers in the gig economy, or what's the sharing economy, and really redefined what the future of work meant. People deciding to do something, hire somebody online, to do something inside their house. So we iterated and tested and iterated. And then in 2014, we changed the business model, where what was one where fulfillment was better, the customer experience was better, and we made it so that you could more easily hire someone on the platform.
So what was the change specifically?
We actually changed the model so that you could directly hire a tasker
rather than putting a job up there and having someone bid for it. Does everyone know what TaskRabbit does? Who's used TaskRabbit? Maybe show of hands. Okay, so a lot of people. Yeah. So you get people to do tasks.
Safe and convenient way for you to get those nagging to-do things off your to-do list.
Right.
And so that change really increased our customer satisfaction, increased our fulfillment, and accelerated the growth of the company. But what I think you're getting at is a broader concept that I wanted to bring up, which is a fundamental shift in consumer behavior. Today, a lot of people go online. There's a lot of on-demand services out there. It's not just TaskRabbit. There's Thumbtack, and then there's big companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon that are also entering home services. But Pew Research did a survey recently that said that just 4% of US consumers have hired someone online to do something for them that's related to task management. And if you think about it, we hire people to like drive us around and deliver us food, but like won't go online and find somebody to fix that pocket door that's been broken for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so we're really at the very beginning of what this is. And I think the millennial generation, which is the first 100% digitally native generation, is now growing up. They're moving out of apartments, they're going into houses, and they're going to be the generation that really drives this growth. So I'm really excited about the future of where we're going, because we're creating a human-centric approach to task management.
So speaking of the future and where you're going, last year TaskRabbit was acquired by IKEA, which really surprised me as a kind of follower of the brand. It also surprised me. It didn't really even make that. The news was sort of in the middle. To me, it was big news because I was like, "What's going to happen?" But tell us why IKEA and what's going to change and what it means for your future.
Yeah. So IKEA is the world's largest furniture retailer. They operate in 49 countries, 418 stores, 11 franchises. And we're helping them become a digital company. How do they think about what a digital company is and have a digital mindset? And so for TaskRabbit, we offer great services. They offer great products. Our values are actually very aligned. Their mission is to create a better everyday life for the many people, and ours is to make everyday life easier for everyday people. And we didn't write these at the same time. The company will celebrate 75 years of existence this year with the brand. And so what we're trying to do is bring to them a digital mindset and more convenience. They've invested very heavily in quality and affordable products, and we're bringing convenience to customers who shop both in the stores and online.
So you said you're helping them become a digital company, but they have a website. They've had a website for a long time, but they don't strike me as they strike me as a store-based company. Would you say they sort of lagged behind in this whole digital transformation that so many big companies are going through?
TaskRabbit exists because of the internet. Like, we started because people could find each other online and then create a human connection offline. Retail exists because we put stores up in big boxes and drew people to them. So that shift in the future of retail is how does IKEA, the IKEA group, really reach a new type of customer who's not just expecting high quality and affordable products, but also the convenience that comes along with it. TaskRabbit service happens to be very convenient. Many of you who've used TaskRabbit have probably used us to get furniture assembly done through IKEA. And so we've seen, even if they have a website, more customers now will buy things online through the IKEA website and buy more things because the TaskRabbit service is available. In fact, we did our largest job 117 hours because an IKEA customer went online, saw that they could get TaskRabbit to put everything together, and basically bought all the furniture for their entire house.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. And does this mean kind of like a new fire hose of volume for you? I mean, to deal with the customers of a company of that size suddenly?
Absolutely. IKEA had 2.1 billion visits to their website in 2017. So this is an excellent customer acquisition.
Are you prepared for all that?
We're getting ready. We're live in all IKEA stores in the US. We're live online in all the key markets in the UK, and we've got concerted and regular plans ready to go international and expand.
And you also changed your pricing structure recently. Was that also a gambit to sort of open, widen the tent of who would be using TaskRabbit?
Yeah, that's one of the things that the IKEA group is teaching us, is what does it mean to really be affordable? They've really built that business on how do we make quality, affordable products that does not break the bank. And so since this acquisition, we've invested in making TaskRabbit more affordable. And in doing so, we lowered our prices a few months ago, which we're very happy about because now more people can access and use TaskRabbit more often. Hopefully your $1,200 becomes $2,400 and $3,600 and so on, Lee. But by doing that, customers are saving on average $10 to $15 on their tasks on TaskRabbit, and some of them are using that extra savings to hire a more experienced tasker to do more work for them, which is great for us. We've seen higher conversion and more usage as a result of that change. I'm
sometimes surprised. I do talk a lot about my hirings of TaskRabbit sometimes, and I'm often surprised at how many people don't know what it is. They say, "What is that?" It surprises me, but is that something you're working on, sort of getting the brand out there? Are you going to invest in marketing or going into new markets in other cities?
Yeah, so part of our expansion strategy is absolutely new markets in other cities. IKEA's in 49 countries. We want to be in all of them with them eventually. The other part is increasing our awareness with a new type of customer. So we're part of IKEA's Back to School campaign right now, so you may have seen our commercials on TV with them, where we're advertising now to a new demographic that probably wouldn't have considered IKEA, but now they will because they now know and expect that TaskRabbit as a service would be available to them.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to open it up for questions in just a minute, but I also want to ask you about diversity. You are one of the only black female CEOs in tech, maybe the only one in Silicon Valley. You, as you mentioned, grew up in Detroit, the daughter of a single mother. You have said that your whole life you have been the only. And you're still kind of the only. So what do you think about that? And you're on the boards of these companies, Nordstrom, HP. Are you able to sort of, create a sense of urgency for these big companies and for the industry at large? I mean, what's your take on how we have not yet advanced in that way?
I've been out in Silicon Valley for 18 years. Ever since I left Detroit, I left the community of people who look like me in my neighborhood, because I went to Penn undergrad, and then I went to New York on Wall Street, and that was
Stacey has a crazy resume. Stacey went to Wharton, she worked at Goldman, she went to Stanford and got her MBA, she went to Google in 2003, was mentored by someone named Sheryl Sandberg, and the rest is history.
And so on.
Go ahead.
But you almost get used to being the only. But I've used it as a force for good. So at Google, I created the Black Googler Network. As part of being a CEO at TaskRabbit, I speak often and talk often about what does it mean to be a leader and a black female leader. I take whatever conversation that I can with a young executive who's coming up through the ranks. I'm on the board of Black Girls Code, trying to help more Black girls become technology executives someday. And so I talk about it right now with you. It's okay for you to ask me this question, so whoever is watching will ask the question of me. What I have noticed is a shift. When I talk to people in the Valley, they'll ask me, well, you know, what can I do to do better around diversity? Or if they're interested in me working with their investment firm or advising one of their portfolio companies, say, just so you know, here's how we're thinking about diversity, without me having to prompt. So I do think the dialogue and the conversation is changing, and part of it, I think, is the expectations of our society are changing. I mean, we've lost a lot of human connection in society. TaskRabbit is bringing humans together and try to create a better connection, and we can't do that if we don't celebrate the differences in who we are as people.
Who has a question for Stacy? Anyone over here?
Thanks. Stephen Wolf Pereira from Quantcast. Stacy, congrats on all of your success. You know, one of the things I was always amazed about TaskRabbit is the fact that you really approached marketing, really performance-driven marketing, from a product lens. And so you were able to do a lot of A/B testing, and just the way that you do marketing in the Valley is so different from the way a lot of, you know, kind of brand-led, you know, kind of upper funnel brands do it. And now you have this mix between IKEA, which is probably more upper funnel, and TaskRabbit, which is more performance-driven, lower funnel. How are you helping them learn more about the way Silicon Valley goes about, you know, kind of product marketing and just marketing in general?
Yeah, we're still squarely focused on performance-driven marketing. Most people find out about TaskRabbit through word of mouth still today. And half of the word of mouth is actually people who've never used the service. They've heard of it, and they have a friend who they think should use it, even if they've never used it before. That says something about the trust that we've created. So we will always invest in performance marketing. What IKEA has helped us see is that there is a benefit to having and building a great brand. They have a great brand that they've invested in for 75 years, and that brand is something that they protect. So we're learning about how to protect our brand, how to increase trust, how to increase the human nature of what we're doing that yields and builds more trust, and then letting IKEA show us, well, what does it mean to build a long-lasting brand? 10 years felt like a long time until I was talking to people at IKEA who'd worked there for 30 years, who've thought about the brand over decades and decades and decades. And so now I'm trying to figure out, what do I do to make TaskRabbit an amazing brand for the next 75 years?
Well, yeah, Jeff.
For all of us who are interested in the gig economy, the evolution of TaskRabbit is so interesting. As an early customer, you could ask TaskRabbits to do anything, and then you evolved it and you narrowed it to only 4 or 5 tasks that were standardized. Could you talk about the decision to do that? Because I'm sure the economics are somehow better, but it's less useful in a broader way. It's obviously worked. I wonder if you could comment as an entrepreneur in sort of how you started out thinking broadly and then made the decision to narrow the tasks.
Yeah, the decision to do that really was driven by customer experience. When you had the bidding experience that a lot of people absolutely loved, you had a 50% chance of getting your task done on TaskRabbit. So half the time you were actually happy, and the other half of the time you were angry. It was either happy or angry. There was never an in-between. And so we had to decide what kind of model would allow us to create more happy customers. We can't have a business where only half the people are happy. We want everybody to be happy. And yes, that did open up other acquisition channels, because if you're 50% happy, then you're not going to tell anybody to use it, which means my customer acquisition costs are high. I'm an accountant by training, so I did look at the math, and the math does matter. When we launched the change, most clients were okay with it. They were worried that they weren't going to be able to get what they wanted done on TaskRabbit anymore. But they figured out we still have 45 categories. That's a lot of categories of work. The taskers also felt, well, wait a minute, if I'm not participating in the bidding process, how are you going to make sure that I'm going to find enough work to do? But what turns out to happen is that when they tell us when they're available to work, we will only show you when you're available, and you'll get hired more often for tasks. So most of them earned more money with the new model. But it wasn't easy to make that change. So as a CEO, and I was the COO at the time we made this change, and Leah Buskey was still running the company, we sat in a room for about hours and said, well, here's what we're going to do. How long are we going to wait if there's a backlash?
Did you lose customers over that?
Oh, we did. We lost some customers. I remember speaking to one customer who we'd actually never saved. We tried like every night for 3 days about why we're not going to change the business back for her. And the business is much bigger today. There are more people who are able to use TaskRabbit today, but we did lose some customers. We wanted it a different way. But right now, our fulfillment is higher than it's ever been. We're able to talk to people all over this country and soon all over the world about TaskRabbit, and then I get to bring TaskRabbit everywhere, every market, every device, and for everyone. And so does that serve a greater good? I believe it does.
Anyone? Adam? Oh, sorry. Question here.
Hi, Adam Lashinsky with Fortune. The second part of Stephen's question was, what has IKEA learned from TaskRabbit? And I wondered if you could share some thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that IKEA has learned is what does it mean to be a digitally minded company. We've invested in a really strong technical team in Silicon Valley. We've invested in growing a marketplace through performance-driven marketing. We've invested in a millennial customer who is growing up with us, and how do we reach that customer. And so that learning alone has shown them that they are transforming, and with a brand like theirs will lead the future of retail as it relates to furniture. But how do you execute on that? How do you make your site more e-commerce enabled? And because TaskRabbit has already thought about an online experience and shown them, as I just said, that people will buy more services online if you give them the services that are available. They will buy more products, they will buy more services. That insight alone has changed the way they think about investing in IT and what a digital experience looks like for an IKEA customer.
And they were the stores in that big catalog. That's what I think of when I think of IKEA. Anyone else? I have more questions. What is the structure? How has the structure changed? You're operating autonomously still in San Francisco. Are any people from Sweden sort of coming and staying there, or doing rotations there at all, or coming to visit, or trying to get a flavor of Silicon Valley at all?
Yeah, we have lots of visitors, but we're running the company independently. We're a separate entity within IKEA, independently managed with our own P&L. We actually have our own board that governs the company that I sit on. That gives us the freedom to do and execute on other partnerships with other companies, whatever we feel like will be best for our clients and our taskers. And in the process, we're enabling TaskRabbit services through all of the 419 IKEA stores around the world eventually. And in that learning, the learning is happening because we have teams of people coming over. We just had some folks last week coming over learning and how we're going to roll out those services. What does it mean to create a service experience inside of a store? What does it mean to grow that experience and have the customer have a consistent experience, whether they're shopping in the store or online? And so the conversations are happening in Silicon Valley because that's where the energy is for us, and where they're sort of learning from that energy.
You mentioned Amazon. You're going to be a lot bigger now with IKEA, but Amazon is pretty big. There's also Angie Home Services, owned by IAC,
yes,
a big competitor. How are you going to compete against those companies?
Well, we're focusing on building a great business. Task management is something that nags us all. We all have nagging things on our to-do list that create emotional stress for everyone. And for us, we're bringing a human-centric approach to it, and we think that's different, and we think it's better.
Have you ever, the CEOs of Uber and Lyft have, driven for their companies. Have you ever been a tasker?
Yes,
yeah?
I have.
What's that been like?
We have to task all the time. I love it. I actually cleaned somebody's apartment who was moving out and had to get their deposit back, because that was a lot of pressure, because it wasn't just cleaning it so you can sleep nice tonight, but it was like money on the line. And it was a good experience to not just feel what it's like to be a client sometimes, but it's also to feel what it's like to be a tasker, to go into a job and not see how dirty the oven is that you have to clean in 2 hours.
Was it really dirty?
And it was really dirty.
Did you ever tell them you were the CEO?
I did not, because I didn't want to freak him out, but he did get the deposit back.
Well, that's good. All's well that ends well. Stacey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.